Welcome back, Seekers, to today's Explainer. Think of this as a journey through a dark, sprawling, gothic graphic novel, and I'll be your weary, eternal philosopher guiding you through the ink and shadows. We're looking at a blinding, objective light, something so ancient it actually predates our very first human petitions. Let's just say every single shadow in this fable is going to force us to confront the bare bones of our own existence. Let's get right into it. Right off the bat, we're hit with this relentless, completely shadowless reality. The silence of heaven is not an empty space, but the roar of my unwavering gaze that simply does not care for your scripts. Wow. We usually think of heaven's silence as an absence, right? Like nobody's home. But here, it's framed as a massive, indifferent presence. It's a total anatomy of refusal that completely cuts through our theatrical mists, making all our little human ledgers and petty ceremonies look, well, entirely relevant. So that brings us to Act 1, the shattering of pretense. Our story kicks off right at the absolute zenith of our own negation. We're exposed to what the text calls the Great Noon. And listen, this isn't some warm, comforting sunlight you bask in. No, it's a deep, cool blue register of light that absolutely refuses to endorse our immutable debts. It literally strips away the muscle memory of faith we all rely on, exposing our so-called sanctuary for what it really is, just a hollow cage of social arrangements. Naturally, because we are absolutely terrified of that raw radiance, we try to hide, right? We build what Walton calls the architecture of convenience. We become the architect. We construct this museum of straight lines propped up by a humming spear of ancient laws. We're just desperately trying to mask the rot in our stone vaults with performative mourning and fancy noble titles. But at the end of the day, this whole architecture is just a locked gate. It's designed to keep the truly sacred at a safe, manageable distance so our performative little souls don't get turned to ash. And that highlights the central, agonizing dialogue of our fable. The raw, completely indifferent fire of objective truth, clashing head-on with the stagnant structural glue of meaning that we invent just to survive it. This light, it falls on the open curtain and the closed one with the exact same cold indifference. We absolutely love calling our heavy, unmoving traditions integrity, but in the light of the Great Noon, it's revealed as a rigidity that just stopped checking for living truth a long time ago. Moving deeper into the void, we hit Act 2, the intermediaries of truth. So, when this unwavering illumination finally hits, how do the entities living in this Gothic landscape actually react? First up, we meet the dragon, the spirit of negation, and he is completely consumed by an inner conflict about this godless, rotting reality. Is the senseless horror of a godless reality truly a home, or just another room where the spirit's asking is a cry into the dark? He always believed sin and destruction were his proper elements, but the light illuminates his emerald scales not because he's inherently evil, but simply because he happens to be a surface existing in the path of a burning truth. This paradox is just fascinating. The dragon's ignoble knowledge isn't just basic cartoon villain evil, it's actually the stinging grit in the oyster. He serves as the essential ground for revelation, providing the friction required to make the presence of the stars finally meaningful to the blind. He isn't the truth itself, but he absolutely carries the temperature of the truth. Next, emerging right out of those shadows, we find the jester. Now, this isn't your typical dancing fool. This is a guy who has been pressing down laughter for years, just waiting. He steps directly inside the wound to act as a brutally honest bridge between that blinding light and the dark, unsaid rooms of the human heart. He holds the sacred space of the vigil where the soul has to make its choice. Check out how he evolves through the narrative. He starts off as this chaotic, truth-telling monster, but he matures into a witness holding sacred space. Ultimately, he realizes a totally profound truth. He's not the source of the light at all. He is merely the refraction. He's the exact specific angle at which the light has to fall to make the hidden shadows of our own faces readable to ourselves. But serving as this honest bridge, it is an agonizing burden. He has to carry the void register, basically the freezing cold floor of judgment, while simultaneously clinging to his ember voice, which is his very human, terrifying fear of his own emptiness beneath it all. And he carries these incredibly heavy weights, the violet coin and the crimson token. They validate his agonizing walk through 10,000 hells, finally completing a long, unresolved chord and justifying the burden he took on for the king. And now, the vertical blade of noon tilts downward, demanding absolute honesty as we enter Act 3, The Descent. Down here in the void, we run into the seraphim. He used to be the static sentinel of stone, but now he literally shatters his marble skin to become a grotesque door of holy fire, radiating what the text calls a holy blight. He challenges every single traveler to realize that our proudly defended architecture of the soul is actually just the exact shape of our hidden failures. The defended heart isn't going to admit any comfortable friends. If truth is coming in, it has to arrive as fire. 300. Just think about that. For 300 years, this sentinel has been accumulating unspoken truth. He hasn't been guarding gold or treasure. He's been guarding reality itself. And now he radiates this truth, not to punish us, but as this massive, profound gift. He's basically naming the rot out loud so that the actual painful process of healing can finally begin. Which pulls us all the way down here into the Valley of Shadows. The text calls this the unhomely home. Down here, the light of the great noon falls equally on the noble widow and the ignoble heir. In the world of our graphic fable, this valley is a destination where the familiar gets twisted and made strange, just strange enough to force a genuine confrontation with the real thing. And it's a place you can only ever reach through the absolute, unflinching honesty of your walking. This road leaves us with an incredibly stark realization. The silence of heaven has ended because the primal honesty of the earth has finally stood its ground beneath your feet. The void absolutely does not want your apologies or your carefully balanced ledgers. It requires your most primal, grounded honesty. True elevation in this Gothic descent, you only find it by totally unmaking the self so you can finally step into that holy fire. So, I leave you, my fellow weary travelers, with this completely silent personal reckoning. The light is a gift, absolutely, but the choice to actually attend to that ember burning in your chest, that's entirely on you. Now that the initial shock of recognition is past and all your little pretenses have been burned away into ash, what are you going to do with a lit room? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I will catch you in the next explainer.